Mavericks.
I'm Zara Zane, and this is your Mavericks News Show.
And I'm Anton Nguyen. We're still trekking along with our year as we moved into the month of March.
February, better known as the month of love, is behind us, but I see affection that has lingered around our school.
You're talking about couples, right? I know about that.
I'm sure you do. But what I mean is there's a lot of public displays of affection.
Yeah, a little too much. Let's go to Andy Lewis with his PSA on PDA.
PDA, a public display of affection. We all know there's a lot of couples at our school, but should they keep their displays of affection outside of school? Let's see what teachers and students think.
My opinion on PDA is that hugging and holding hands and kissing is fine, but you should keep your intimate things in the bedroom.
I think a lot of people take the PDA a little too far, and like when they hide themselves in the corners and they go crazy. But I think a lot of teachers over-exaggerate how like bad PDA is. Like they freak out and make you stand apart if you're hugging someone, even if you're not dating them. So I think that the teachers over-exaggerated a little, but then again, there are kids that just go too far.
I think that PDA should be moderate, not like stuff you do at your house. Like that's definitely not okay. But like just generally displays of affection should be fine, and like hugging and stuff like that. I mean, it's not a big deal.
So there was this one time in my class, or our class, we had a sub, and she kicked us out of class because we were sitting too close to each other, and she said we were a distraction because we were sitting too close to each other, so she made us leave the classroom.
A couple of people give us trouble from time to time, especially a lot of teachers. They say, oh no, you can't do that, that's inappropriate, but I don't think what we do is really that bad.
My opinion's about public displays of affection. The F200s has a rule that the F200 is a no-touching zone. And one of my personal rules is that the F200 follows me everywhere that I go. And one of the reasons I have this rule is because
I have a television.
there are parts of your lives that I don't need to know about, and there are parts of everybody's lives that everybody doesn't need to know about, and that is one of them. So lingering high fives, long hugs, holding hands, all of those things are banned in the F200s.
Some people think that PDA is disgusting, and some people think it's alright. What do you think? Back to the studio, Mavs.
Couples, keep it classy. PDA can be really uncool, so keep it clean, and remember, you're still in school.
Yes, and within our school, our reporters find stereotypes and break them down.
Now, many people find this next topic one that's hard to discuss.
Kate Stevens and Autumn Rose talked to members of GSA about this month's stereotype, which is sexual orientation.
Hey Mavs, I'm Kate, and this month we will be focusing on the stereotyping of sexual orientations. How are people generally stereotyped based on their sexual orientation alone?
I think people are commonly stereotyped based on their sexual orientation, usually on the basis of deviant behaviors associated with their sexualities, just because if people think of things that aren't what is considered the norm as being, you know, strange or inferior or things like that. So a lot of negative connotations come from those assumptions.
I think people often have this tendency to place labels on others, and so like gay or straight or bi or whatever without first consulting the person. And oftentimes when that happens, if that person does say, oh hey, I'm gay, or even if they don't say it and may just act in a way that's stereotypically gay, people start to assume that, you know, you do certain things, you have certain behaviors, certain traits, you're more likely to maybe act a little bit more feminine or masculine depending on the sexual orientation.
Do you think that the stereotyping of sexual orientations is a problem here at Meadowdale?
I think they're a problem. People tend to stereotype a lot when it comes to sexual orientation, and it can just get really confusing for some people.
Yes, I believe it is a problem here, just as it is a problem in most high schools, middle schools, and even in some elementary schools, but that's mainly based on not sexual orientations, but again, the negative connotations of those sexual orientations, in which people will take all the negative aspects of them, and then just use those as being insults. And then, people will take those insults and, again, start identifying them with orientations. And then if someone says, oh, I identify as this, everyone's like, oh, so you're all of these terrible things. And I feel like that really persists within a lot of schools, especially with teenagers, because teenagers are awful.
Stereotypes of one's sexual orientation are all too common, often false perceptions about a person based solely upon their sexual orientation or gender identity. Everyone is different, so why does society feel the need to generalize a large group of people? To learn more about stereotyping of sexual orientations and how to put a stop to them, stay tuned next month for part 2. Back to the studio.
Tune in next month to see part 2. What are you doing, Angela?
2. Didn't you say tattoo?
No, I didn't. Were you thinking of getting some ink on your arm?
Well, I was inspired by some students in the hallway. Surprisingly, a lot of high schoolers have tattoos.
Let's go to Courtney Whiteside with the student feature of this month, tattoos.
I regret the first one a lot because I did not know who the guy was, and I didn't, it was just kind of in the moment thing. My friend's like, I'm getting a tattoo. I'm like, I want one, and I didn't have any clue of any of his past work, and so I just trusted this complete stranger, and he did a horrible job.
No, because I look at it every day.
No, I have 0 regrets. Yeah.
I don't regret it at all. It was a lot of money, but it was money well spent, so.
I got my tattoo because my best friend, who was my cousin, had passed away, and I decided to get it because I wanted to remember her.
I got my tattoo because my grandma's always been a big part of my life, and she passed away on Mother's Day, so I decided to get it in memorial of her, and it means a lot to me.
Well, the reason why I got my tattoo was probably because I just wanted one. What I got is my family crest, and then Seattle in the background.
I have got a lot of judgment from it, because everybody's like, oh, why'd you get an angel as a tattoo?
Not that I know of. Maybe something behind my back. I don't know. I've never heard of it, though.
I mean, not really. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, that's cool, but then a lot of people are like, why would you get a tattoo so young, That's so dumb. And I don't know.
People really shouldn't judge others about what's on their exterior. I mean, just because you have tattoos doesn't mean you do bad things like drugs or alcohol.
That's right, but unfortunately, people do take part in things like that. We have Sean Herrera on the field who went in depth with this topic.
Here he is with his new edition of Counseling Corner.
This is Sean Herrera, and today on Counseling Corner, we will be taking a depth look into teens misusing drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes.
So at Meadowdale High School, I see primarily marijuana, tobacco, alcohol. I also work with students who use ecstasy and cocaine. And then heroin has become more popular actually in our community. So if you get caught at school, you'll get a 5-day suspension, and then 25 days will be held in abeyance. And in 48 hours, I believe is district policy, you need to get a urinalysis test done. And then you also need to get a drug and alcohol assessment and follow through on the recommendations of that assessment, or you will end up getting another 25 days of your suspension. I think most students I see understand that there's consequences to their drug use. Teenagers, however, think that they're invincible. So that nothing's going to happen to them. Maybe they've seen it happen to friends or heard about things, but they just don't think it's going to happen to them, and I don't think they take their use very seriously. You know, with marijuana, there's a pretty lax attitude in regard to it. I think students don't quite understand that, you know, the marijuana of today is much different than the marijuana of the 60s and 70s. You know, marijuana of today can be 15 times stronger than the past. And what research has found is that marijuana smoke contains 4 times the amount of tar as it does in tobacco smoke, and there are 50 to 70% more cancer-causing substances in marijuana than in tobacco.
Do you know every day 3,000 kids smoke their first cigarette? This is Sean Herrera reporting back to the studio.
The drug and alcohol specialist of our school is only here on Mondays and Fridays, but if you students have any problems, don't hesitate to go see her.
Well, we're almost done with our recap of all of this month's events, and an important one that happened in the beginning, if you've forgotten, was the Rock and Read.
That's right. This year was the second annual Rock and Read held at the Edmonds Bookshop, located at downtown Edmonds.
The Rock and Read was created by Meadowdale's own librarian, Mrs. Ireland, and was inspired by the Read Across America campaign that brings daily reading into schools across our country.
Reporter Sherilyn Wentz interviewed Miss Ireland herself, who can explain the event better than we can.
Rock and Read is this opportunity for our school to share the love of reading to our community in Edmonds. It all began because I was at a librarians meeting a couple of years ago when librarians said they're going to honor Dr. Seuss's birthday, which is March 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. It's part of the Read Across America theme that all students do in schools. Maybe you remember that when you were young? Well, someone made a comment at a librarians meeting that high school kids, well, what do? They don't read. And I got upset. I thought, wait. We have a lot of students at this school who do read. So I thought, well, we have rock and roll marathons that always are very popular lately with bands where the people run. And I thought, I've seen rocking chairs in the Edmonds Bookshop. I don't know what flashed through my head, but I thought, not rock and roll marathon, rock and read marathon. And why not do it a marathon for 55 hours straight all weekend long? So Rock and Read does benefit, I hope, a lot of different people. For one, the community will see that high school kids do read, that there's hope for mankind. 2, if you've seen these posters and these little posters, it's all about sharing the love of reading with students that may not can afford books. We're getting students to donate gently read books to the families who go to the food bank in Edmonds at the Methodist Church. Not only Edmonds, but Linwood people come as well. So we thought every week when people pick up food, there's a table full of gently read books for them to pick up, like sustenance of the heart and soul and the mind.
I read because it's a chance to escape and discover new worlds.
It brings out the art in language. I read because it feeds my imagination.
If you didn't get a chance to rock and read, you can still claim your frame in the window for next year when March comes around.
Thankfully, April is pretty much here, and the wait until then won't be so bad. We have spring break to look forward to.
Jacob, Zach, and I went out around campus asking some Mavs what they were doing for spring break. Let's see what they said.
Hey there, Mavs! Guess what time of year it is? If you guessed winter, you're wrong! It's March 28th and spring break is just 3 days away. As you can see, weather conditions are quite chilly, so let's warm things up by asking our Mavs what they're doing for spring break. What are you doing for spring break?
We're going to San Diego.
I'm going to stay here and watch the ASB office.
I'm going to Arizona with my best friend. Road trip!
For spring break, I'm going to Palm Springs and I have state for soccer.
Okay, well, I'm really planning that far ahead at all. Well, I'm probably going to Whistler.
I'm going to go see my 94-year-old grandpa in California. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I think I'm just going to sleep a lot. I'm going to Vegas.
I'll probably go camping.
I'm hanging out with friends this spring break.
The same here.
Sounds exciting and eventful. Looks like this week is going to be a great one. I'm Angela Nguyen reporting. Back to the studio.
This Washington weather is ridiculous, and I can't even imagine what it'll be like during break.
Me neither. But that's all we have for you today, Mavs.
Stay on your hooves for our next show that will be airing on April 30th during First AT.
I'm Angela Nguyen.
And I'm Zara Zane. Have a great day.
And a good break.
My dream is to fly over the rainbow so high. My dream